I found a small pink bottle in my husband's bag, something that stopped my breath cold. It was not mine, and it was not something any decent man should be carrying around. I did not cry. I did not scream. I simply stared at it for a long, trembling moment before I quietly replaced the contents with super glue, sealing my decision along with that cap. At 2 a.m, the nanny who had only recently started working in our home was rushed to the emergency room. Marcus Kane, my husband, was still in the shower in our master suite. His phone kept buzzing in the pocket of his jacket, pulling me out of a half-sleep, the sound relentless until I reached for it. The caller ID showed a strange number beginning with 400, the kind that usually belongs to businesses, hotels, or hidden services. I silenced it and was about to slide the phone back where it belonged when my fingers brushed against something cool and smooth, something shaped like a bottle. My heart tightened as I pulled it out. A pale pink tube decorated with a cartoon girl in a suggestive pose. Japanese characters scattered across it in bright ink. It looked cheap, tacky, and indecent. My pulse raced as I opened an image search on my phone, scanning the label. The results appeared in seconds, and they sliced me open. It was a women's lubricant designed for stimulation, the kind of thing a man does not buy for his wife, who has just given birth. Especially when the cap is already unscrewed, the seal broken, the evidence of use undeniable. A dark fog fell over me, the kind that suffocates, the kind that makes your hands go cold. I was still in recovery, still weak from labor, and yet this discovery struck harder than any pain my body had endured. There was no way this was for me. The only explanation left was the ugliest one. Marcus Kane, the man who had sworn to protect me and our family, was having an affair. The thought pierced me like a blade, sharp and merciless, tearing through every memory of tenderness we had shared. The shower kept running in the background, a steady rush of water, as if life outside the storm in my chest continued undisturbed while I sat on the bed, unable to breathe. My hands shook as I unlocked his phone. At the top of his messages sat a pinned chat labeled "My Love." The texts inside were painfully ordinary, filled with reminders about groceries, little jokes about work, updates on Noah. Every message so normal it almost mocked me. I flipped through every app, every folder, his social media accounts, his hotel booking apps, even his games. All of it was clean, spotless, as if scrubbed by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. For a fleeting second, I wanted to believe that maybe the pink bottle was some cruel prank, a mistake, something left behind by someone else. I almost let myself believe in his innocence again. But then as I tried to exit, my finger slipped into a folder labeled "Work." Marcus had mild OCD. He always categorized his apps with obsessive precision, every file in its proper place. There was no reason an app for infant care should be sitting inside a folder marked "Work." My stomach dropped. With a pulse hammering in my throat, I tapped it open. The screen filled with conversations, intimate, filthy, undeniable. The first dated back to March 8th, the day I was rushed to the hospital for a threatened miscarriage. Marcus had sat beside me all night, holding my hand, whispering words of comfort. But in the hidden chat he had typed, 3 months without it, I thought I was finally going to get satisfaction, but she was useless. Book a hotel near the hospital tonight. I'm losing my mind. Wear the black lace again, no wait. Try the nurse outfit this time, it will be hotter. My stomach heaved. The man I thought was my rock had been planning a tryst while I was bleeding and terrified for our unborn child. Another message dated May 20th, the day he knelt before me in front of friends and family, presenting a second ring and promising 52 more years of love. In the hidden app he wrote, "She cried and trembled like a sack of meat, disgusting. I'm leaving tomorrow for a business trip. Come stay with me, I need you so bad I could die." In September, the day I lay on the operating table struggling through induced labor, he sat outside the delivery room weeping loudly, telling everyone he wished he could take my pain. On the app he wrote, "They say women are ruined after childbirth, but you're still tight. Send me a video, I'm starving. Can you sneak into the hospital bathroom now? I can't wait any longer." October came, our wedding anniversary, when he held me in a family photo, smiling and calling us a perfect trio, a flawless family of 3. And yet the messages said, "Tonight you moaned so loud she had no clue, just held the baby and smiled like an idiot." The latest message stopped on one chilling line. "Let's try something new tonight, something more exciting." My gut twisted, bile rising. I pressed my hand against my mouth, terrified I would vomit right there. The words were vile, dripping with lust, written by the same hands that had once stroked my hair with tenderness. Marcus Kane, the gentle, dependable husband I had trusted beyond reason, was a stranger. I could not reconcile it. How could the man who massaged my swollen ankles every night, who carefully rubbed stretch mark cream into my belly, who hand-washed my underwear with quiet devotion, be the same man writing these things? How could the man who took over every chore, who made sure I slept through the night while he rose to soothe our crying baby, who prepared balanced meals and arranged for the best nanny, also be the man sneaking away to degrade me behind my back? My friends had told me I was lucky that men like Marcus no longer existed, that he was the rare husband who cherished his wife as if she were glass. And yet the reality seared me with a crueler truth. The more perfect he appeared, the deeper the lie. Marcus had always treated me as if I were something fragile, something so precious that a careless touch might break me. He loved me in small, meticulous ways, the kind that wrapped around my heart like silk threads, until I believed I was the luckiest woman alive. Every time I had a prenatal appointment, he would lie awake the night before, his worry keeping him restless until dawn. When the day came for Noah to enter this world, he cried so loudly outside the delivery room that the nurses had to calm him, a man overwhelmed with the pain of a woman he swore he adored. They say new mothers rarely know the peace of uninterrupted sleep, but I did. Every night I closed my eyes and drifted off without fear of being startled awake, because Marcus had arranged everything down to the smallest detail. A high-end nanny, balanced nutrition plans, carefully chosen baby products. All of it was prepared to keep me comfortable. He would rise in the night whenever Noah cried, pacing the room with the baby against his chest, while I slept on blissfully unaware. My closest friends told me often that men like him no longer existed, that I had found a miracle. I believed them. A man like Marcus Kane could not possibly betray me. Yet the truth had already struck me in the face, hard and merciless, and there was no denying it anymore. He had been unfaithful, and he had begun his betrayal when I was still carrying his child inside me. I wiped my tears and forced myself to breathe deep and steady. Crying would solve nothing, and I needed my mind clear, sharp, ready for war. I reached for my phone, quickly capturing every vile exchange I had uncovered in his secret chats. Evidence proof, a record of his betrayal that could never be erased. Then my eyes turned back to the pale pink bottle sitting there like an omen. I opened it, my fingers steady, despite the rage shaking through me, and emptied its contents. In its place, I poured thick streams of super glue, sealing it back carefully, replacing it exactly where I had found it. I did not yet know who the woman was, but I would by the end of tonight. The bathroom door clicked open, the sound sharp in the stillness of the room. Marcus stepped out, his hair-wet droplets running down his shoulders. When his gaze fell on me sitting upright on the bed, he froze for a heartbeat, then softened his expression with practiced ease. "Sweetheart, it's so late. Why aren't you asleep yet?" His voice was gentle, tender, almost convincing enough to pull me back into the web of lies. I lifted my eyes to him, and the tears I had held back broke free, sliding down my cheeks in streams. All the pain I had bottled up came spilling out unrestrained. Panic flickered across his face, and in an instant he was at my side, kneeling frantic with concern. "Baby, why are you crying like this? Did you have a nightmare? You can't cry so much during recovery. It isn't good for you." His hands were soft against my skin, his movements careful, his tone protective. For a fleeting second, if I had not seen those messages with my own eyes, I might have believed him again. Love can be acted. It seems performed with such conviction that the audience forgets it is a show. My voice came out broken, raw, as I whispered, "Marcus, I just dreamed you were cheating on me." He stiffened just slightly before letting out a soft laugh, pulling me into his arms. Silly girl dreams are always the opposite. You should dream of me dying, not cheating. My nails dug into my palms, almost breaking skin, but I forced a smile, playing along with his charade. Tell me, Marcus, I've gained weight, I look awful right now. Do you still love me? He cupped my face in both hands, his eyes deep, his expression aching with sincerity. Then he bent down and pressed a kiss to my forehead, so reverent it almost felt like a vow. You will always be the most beautiful woman in the world. You're the woman I pursued for 10 years before I was lucky enough to win your heart. How could I ever stop loving you? That was true. Marcus had chased me for a decade, and once he had even offered me his kidney when I needed surgery. I used to believe I would sooner believe pigs could fly than believe Marcus Kane would betray me. Yet here I was with proof that shattered every illusion I had built. The messages were knives, each one lodged deeper, bleeding me out. I stared straight into his eyes, steady and cold, and asked, "If one day you really did betray me, could you swear you would rather die?" His gaze faltered for the briefest moment. A flicker of hesitation before he recovered with calm assurance. "Even if it kills me, I would never cheat." A laugh burst out of me, sharp and hollow. "Remember your own words, Marcus. A man who betrays love deserves to pay with his life." He chuckled softly, stroking my hair. His voice laced with practiced affection. "That's more like it. My wife looks her best when she's smiling." He stood and returned with a glass of warm milk, holding it out to me with that same patient tenderness. "Drink this, sweetheart, it'll help you sleep." I accepted, brought it to my lips, took a small sip, and set it down, feigning a yawn. "I think Noah's crying. Can you go check on him?" Without a trace of suspicion, he turned and walked out. The moment he was gone, I poured the milk into the sink, watching the liquid swirl away, white and innocent. A cold smile curled my lips. So this was why I had slept so soundly every night since giving birth. Marcus Kane had been drugging me, keeping me unconscious while he carried on with his hidden life. When he returned, his eyes flickered briefly to the empty glass, and I saw it a flash of excitement, satisfaction he tried to hide. He brushed my shoulder lightly, smiling as though nothing had shifted in our world. "Noah's sleeping peacefully. You can rest easy now." I nodded, feigning exhaustion, letting out a long yawn, as if my body could no longer fight against sleep. "That's good," I whispered. "I'm tired too. Let's sleep." Marcus smiled softly, leaned over and switched off the bedside lamp. Darkness swallowed the room at once, and I closed my eyes, steadying my breathing slow and deep, mimicking the rhythm of someone slipping into a dreamless rest. Minutes stretched into stillness. Then I felt his hand graze my cheek, tentative testing. "Sophia," he murmured. "Sweetheart, are you awake?" He tried again, calling me with quiet urgency. But I gave him nothing, not even the twitch of an eyelid. I let out a faint snore, delicate and practiced, and his hand lingered before pulling back. For a moment the silence thickened, his hesitation hanging in the dark, then he shifted, careful as a thief. The mattress lifted slightly as he rose from the bed, every movement calculated, deliberate, as though afraid to wake me. I waited, listening to his breath, the faint pad of his steps, until the door opened and clicked shut. My eyes snapped open. The clock glowed a harsh 1 a.m. My husband, the man who claimed exhaustion every night, was leaving his bed at this hour for her. I slipped from beneath the covers, my phone clutched tight, and padded silently after him. My heart beat in furious rhythm against my ribs, each step drawing me closer to the truth I dreaded yet demanded. Tonight I would have proof, undeniable, inescapable proof. But instead of heading toward the front door, Marcus turned down the hall and into the guest room. My chest seized, breath strangled in my throat. That room was meant for Noah's crib, the place where my baby lay sleeping in innocent dreams. For a split second, I thought perhaps my warning words earlier had spooked him, forced him to change his plan. But then I heard it. A woman's voice, low and familiar, drifting through the crack of the door. I thought you weren't coming, she whispered, her tone tinged with nervous laughter. You're bold tonight. Aren't you afraid she'll find out? My blood froze. It was Jenna Morales. The nanny Marcus himself had insisted on hiring the woman who had worn plain clothes, kept her hair in a tight bun, and lowered her gaze like someone too timid to intrude. She had blended into the background of our home, quiet, polite, dutiful, never once giving me cause to suspect her. And yet here she was, her voice betraying everything. The rustle of clothes being stripped filled the silence, sharp and obscene. Marcus's voice followed, thick with hunger, rushed with lust. She's sleeping like the dead. Come here, Jenna, let me touch you. I've been starving. Jenna hesitated, her words trembling. Earlier tonight I heard her ask, what if you cheat? What if she suspects? Marcus, what if she knows? But he only chuckled darkly, brimming with arrogance. Don't worry, she trusts me completely. Every night I crawl into your bed, she thinks I'm just working late. His tone shifted, harsher, hungrier. You like how bad I am, don't you? Jenna's voice softened, a breathy laugh laced with submission. You know I do, every syllable cut into me like a dull blade sawing through flesh and bone until I could hardly stand. My hands trembled as rage clawed at me, a scream rising in my throat that I forced down with sheer will. This was my house, my child's room, and they were desecrating it with their filth. My vision blurred with fury, and all I wanted was to burst through that door and kill them both with my bare hands. But reason held me back. Not yet, not like this. Jenna's voice quavered again, hesitant. Are you sure about this, Marcus? I'm scared. What if it hurts? He growled impatiently, irritation rising. I'm already letting you get away with so much. You've been with plenty of men before, and you can't even give me this. If you won't, I'll find someone else. Her protest broke instantly. No, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. The sound of her resistance crumbling filled me with a bitter satisfaction. She would not escape what was coming. Marcus's tone grew fevered, almost delirious with anticipation. Good girl, just relax. Let me put this on you. I could hear the cap twisting, the liquid spilling. My stomach clenched because I knew what was in that bottle. It was no longer lubricant, no longer a toy for their betrayal. It was super glue, viscous and merciless. Jenna let out a shrill cry as the substance touched her skin. It burns. Oh my God, it burns. Marcus pressed harder, panting. Just bear it, baby. That's how you know it's strong. It's supposed to sting. Then her scream ripped through the night, piercing the walls, slicing into the quiet neighborhood. Marcus, what did you put on me? We're stuck. We're stuck together. Panic flared in her voice, and even Marcus faltered. I could hear the frantic shuffle, the thud of bodies struggling. He hissed, his voice sharp with alarm. Shut up, keep it down. Do you want the whole building to know I'm stuck too, damn it? Jenna sobbed, clawing at him. Get it off, please get it off. But it was far too late. The glue had hardened, sealing them in the grotesque embrace of their own making. Marcus tried to soothe her in desperate whispers, tried to silence her screams, but the terror in her voice rose higher, uncontrollable. Their whimpers, their writhing, their frantic attempts to separate all of it, blended into a grotesque symphony that confirmed everything I needed to know. The trap had been sprung and they had walked willingly into it. Her muffled cries turned to desperate whimpers. Marcus, do something, please, it hurts. Jenna's voice broke, sticky with panic and tears. He grunted, panicked, himself scrambling for ideas. Maybe hot water, it'll loosen it. He grabbed a towel, tried, but Jenna shrieked louder. It's burning me, it's burning, stop! They thrashed for nearly half an hour, two bodies tangled in grotesque misery, until at last there was no choice left but to call an ambulance. When the paramedics arrived, they were peeled from the bedroom like some bizarre circus act, dragged into the harsh glare of hallway lights. One of them hobbled, clutching his thigh, the other hunched, holding her backside, as if the world itself had betrayed her. Neighbors peeked through their doors, some whispering, some laughing. Their phones raised to capture the humiliation of Marcus, Kane, and Jenna Morales, locked together in a way no decent soul should ever see. From the balcony above, I watched silently, my lips curved into the faintest smile as the ambulance lights pulsed red across the strip before fading away into the distance. Only when the street fell quiet again did I return to Noah's room. My baby slept peacefully. His breath soft, his tiny hands curled into fists, completely unaware of the chaos that had just consumed the night. I brushed my fingers across his cheek, whispering in my heart, "My love, I will protect you with everything I have." My gaze slid back to the empty pink bottle lying on the nightstand. Good. I thought it's all gone now. The next evening, Marcus and Jenna stumbled back into the apartment, their bodies broken in more ways than one. Marcus limped, clutching his thigh, while Jenna shuffled stiffly, a hand pressed against her bruised hip. They looked like clowns returning from a failed act, and I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing out loud. "Where have you two been all day?" I asked sweetly, my eyes moving between them as if I were merely curious. Marcus's face flickered with guilt, his eyes darting anywhere but mine. "Work emergency." He mumbled, his voice shaky. "It kept me busy all day." He paused too long, then added, "On the way back, I happened to see Jenna downstairs, so we came up together." His tone was thin, unconvincing, frayed at the edges. I turned to Jenna, who was pale, her lips trembling. She could barely string a sentence together. "And you were gone all day. I was worried something had happened." She stammered, I, Ms. Delgado." The words dissolved, her face drained of color. Marcus jumped in quickly, cutting her off. "Jenna had some personal things to deal with. She told me. I must have forgotten to mention it to you, sweetheart." Jenna nodded rapidly, desperate to escape further questioning. Yes, that's right. Ms. Delgado, I'll go check on Noah." I raised a hand lightly, smiling. "No need. My parents picked him up to spend the day with them. You can rest." She froze, fumbling for an excuse, then lowered her voice. "Then I'll make dinner." She glanced toward Marcus, eyes full of silent pleading, but he was too lost in his own pain to notice. Limping, she dragged herself toward the kitchen, each step, heavy, every movement betraying agony. I watched her back as she disappeared. Her shoulders hunched, her gait pitiful. A woman reduced to nothing more than a broken servant, limping from bedroom to stove, still forced to cook for the wife she betrayed. A part of me almost pitied her, almost. The sound of pots clanging echoed weakly from the kitchen, her movements clumsy and slow. Marcus collapsed onto the sofa, gripping the armrest, sweat glistening on his brow. His jaw was tight, his face contorted with pain, but he forced himself to stay silent, unwilling to let a groan escape. I crossed the room with a smile, lowering myself onto his lap, wrapping my arms around his neck, swaying gently as though I were the picture of affection. "Honey," I whispered, my voice sugary sweet, "Noah's not home tonight. Finally, it's just the two of us. Don't you think it's time we enjoyed each other again?" His body went rigid beneath me, his face drained of color. His hands clamped down on the armrest until his knuckles blanched white. I ground myself against him deliberately, pressing exactly where I knew his wounds must have been. His breath hitched, his body trembling with the effort to endure, until at last he snapped, shoving me away violently. The force of it startled even him, and I nearly toppled to the floor, catching myself at the last second. Guilt flashed in his eyes, panic spreading across his face. "Sophia, I didn't mean to. I swear I didn't mean to." I steadied myself, my gaze dropping deliberately to his pants. A dark stain had spread across the fabric, seeping through. Blood. My brows lifted in feigned alarm, my voice dripping with worry. "Marcus, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" "Let me see." My hand reached for his waistband, my face a mask of concern. He recoiled instantly, folding over himself, both hands clutching his groin like a wounded animal. His voice broke, quivering with pain and fear. "No, it's nothing, just felt the urge suddenly. I'll be fine." He staggered to his feet, legs clamped tightly together, shuffling toward the bathroom. Every step labored, his breath ragged. He looked pathetic, hunched, broken. stripped of all the dignity he once carried so effortlessly. I leaned back against the sofa, a smile curling my lips as I watched him stumble away. The trap was closing piece by piece, and he didn't even realize he was walking into it. Marcus recoiled as if struck by lightning, curling into himself, stumbling backward until pain ripped through his body and twisted his face into something grotesque. His teeth clenched, his voice trembling. "It's nothing, just needed the bathroom." He clutched his groin with both hands. His legs pressed tightly together, shuffling pitifully toward the bathroom like a broken man. I leaned back on the sofa, watching his retreating figure with a satisfaction so sharp it felt almost sweet. Earlier that day, while both of them were gone, I had installed cameras in every hidden corner of the house, even in the bathroom, leaving no place untouched. Now on my screen, I watched as Marcus peeled away layers of bloodied gauze, revealing wounds raw and red, torn open like shredded flesh. His hands trembled violently as he pulled a tube of ointment from his bag, squeezing it onto his fingers before applying it with excruciating care. The moment the medicine touched the wound, his entire body convulsed, a hiss of agony escaping as cold sweat poured down his forehead. But he bit down hard, refusing to let a sound slip. Watching him suffer, I felt an intoxicating rush. Who would have thought that a bottle of superglue could wreak such havoc? A dark curiosity flickered within me. If Marcus's wound was this brutal, then Jenna's must be far worse. Nearly half an hour later, he emerged from the bathroom, every step shaky, his legs trembling as if they might collapse. I looked up, feigning concern. "Honey, are you sure you're okay?" He forced a weak smile, whispering, "I'm fine." I let my lips curl into a soft smile. "Good. Come, dinner is ready. I made something special for the three of us." When he reached the dining room and saw the spread, his face drained of color. The table was heavy with lobster bathed in spicy sauce, scallops dripping with garlic butter crab, steeped in pepper dishes that reeked of indulgence. His voice cracked as he stared. "Sophia, why so much seafood?" I smiled warmly, pulling out chairs for them. "You two have worked so hard taking care of me, I thought it was time I showed some gratitude." With deliberate cheer, I dropped a fat shrimp into each of their bowls. "Eat, don't be shy." Jenna's face went pale, her head bowed low, her chopsticks clutched tight but unmoving. Marcus's hands shook as he peeled a shrimp, beads of sweat dotting his forehead. I sipped my soup, casually, voice light. "Did you hear the gossip? There was a couple in our building bold enough to get caught in something so reckless they had to call an ambulance to pull them apart. Can you imagine how humiliating?" Marcus's hand froze midair, the shrimp slipping from his fingers, onto the table. I pretended not to notice, continuing as though it were idle chatter. "Darling, you haven't heard who it was, have you?" His eyes darted away, his voice stammering. I wouldn't know." I tilted my head, my smile as sharp as glass. "Strange. And why aren't either of you eating?" "Not feeling well?" Guilt painted their faces, but neither dared to answer. They forced themselves to chew, each bite a struggle, while I savored my meal. Joy blooming in my chest like a secret flame. The following days, I rotated the menu with perverse precision. Milk tea one day, creamy cakes the next, fried chicken, and burgers, lavish seafood. Fiery Szechuan, salty Hunan. Every dish chosen deliberately to make them squirm. Their faces grew paler, their bodies weaker. Marcus limping worse each day, Jenna flinching even at the act of sitting down. On the third night, she finally broke. The house was quiet. Noah asleep, the clock ticking past midnight, when Jenna stood in the guest room, her face hollow, her voice low and trembling. "Marcus, I can't do this anymore. I quit. Transfer $1 million into my account tonight." His brows furrowed, his face darkening. "Are you insane? Why should I give you that much?" Jenna laughed, but there was no joy in it, only venom. Her eyes gleamed with hatred as she tugged her pants down, exposing flesh mangled and raw. "The doctor said the nerves are permanently damaged." Do you see this? Do you see what your games did to me? They told me I might need a colostomy bag. 1 million, is that too much to ask? Her voice rose ragged and furious, her composure shattering. Or should I tell your wife everything? Marcus's face twisted, his teeth grinding audibly. You dare blackmail me? But Jenna's voice held no weakness, no fear. This isn't blackmail, Marcus. This is a deal. You pay, I disappear. And this ends quietly, if not well. You already know what I'll do. Her unfinished sentence was sharper than any knife, the threat clear and heavy between them. The room thickened with silence, the weight of her words pressing down. Marcus's fists clenched and unclenched, rage fighting against desperation, until finally his shoulders sagged. Fine, I'll get you the money. But 1 million isn't small. Sophia controls all my accounts. I need time to figure it out. His voice softened, turning almost pleading. Go back for now. Give me a few days. Jenna sneered, her expression cold. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her bag and slapped it onto the nightstand. Words are cheap. Sign this. Marcus glanced at it, his face paling further. It was a promissory note, the terms brutal interest at 1% per day. His lips curled in disgust. This is extortion. You're robbing me. Forget it. I'll tell Sophia myself. His voice cracked desperate, but Jenna only leaned in closer, her smile sharp and merciless. Then do it. Tell her everything about us. The room thickened with silence, heavy as stone. Marcus clenching and unclenching his fists, until at last he broke. Fine, he muttered, his voice edged with defeat. I'll give you the money. But 1 million isn't small. Sophia controls everything. I need time to figure it out. His tone softened into something dangerously close to begging. Go for now. I'll send it in a few days. Jenna's bitter laugh sliced through the air. She pulled a folded paper from her purse, tossing it down with a snap. Words mean nothing. Sign this. Marcus scanned it, his expression twisting darker. 1% interest per day. This isn't a deal, it's loan sharking. You're robbing me. His voice rose with anger, but she leaned closer, her eyes cold. Sign or I tell Sophia everything. His jaw worked, his throat tightening, and when he finally spat out his agreement, it sounded more like a growl dragged from the pit of his chest. Outside the door, I smiled, lips curling in satisfaction. Let him choke on his own choices. 1 million was a small price to pay. That night, I slipped quietly into our bedroom, transferring funds with careful precision. Some went into a long-term account locked beyond his reach, and another portion into Noah's education fund, untouchable by anyone but me. When the morning came, Jenna was already packing, shoving her belongings into a suitcase. Her steps were light, almost tiptoeing, as though she might vanish without disturbing the air. I emerged just as she reached the door. Leaving so early, Jenna. Her head bowed, her voice meek. Miss Delgado, my family. Something urgent came up. I must go. I nodded, offering no challenge, only pulling out my phone to send her salary transfer. Here's your pay for the month. Take it, travel safe. Her fingers trembled as she accepted it, eyes darting away, words stumbling. Thank you, she left without another look back. Her presence evaporating like smoke. I was never one to withhold what was owed, but when the debt was to me, I never forgot to collect. Marcus lay sprawled on the bed when I returned, his skin waxy, his body stinking faintly of decay. The wound was festering now, the air soured with the odor of rot. More and more often, he slipped into the bathroom, trying to doctor himself in secret. At night, I heard his muffled groans through the walls. One evening, when the house was silent, I opened the cabinet and withdrew the tube of ointment I had prepared. In it, I had mixed the essence of pure chili extract, fiery enough to sear skin. I placed it neatly back where his clumsy hands would reach for it, then climbed into bed calm, as if nothing had been altered. Soon enough, Marcus dragged himself to the bathroom, each step heavy. On the camera feed, I watched him pull away bandages, revealing flesh swollen, blackened, reeking of infection. He braced himself, swabbing the wound, his face slick with sweat, his lips twisted. How did it get this bad? He muttered through clenched teeth. He squeezed the tube, smearing the thick salve directly over the open wound. In the next instant, his body locked rigid with agony. A scream tore from him, wild and raw, echoing off tile and glass, shattering the night. I rushed to the door, mask of panic already painted on my face. "Marcus, what's wrong?" I gasped, entering as though startled. He writhed on the floor, veins bulging his fingers, clawing desperately at ruined flesh as blood streamed down his thighs. "Take me to the hospital," he howled, his voice breaking with desperation. "Please, I can't." His nails scraped his skin raw, trying to claw the fire from his body. I clutched my chest, feigning horror. My God, how did it spread so far? He had no strength to answer, only screaming, his body convulsing, until finally, mercifully, he collapsed unconscious on the tiles. I took my time before lifting the phone to dial for help. The emergency room doors swung wide, doctors spilling into the hall, their faces grave. When one of them emerged, his voice was heavy. "The patient's condition is severe. The wound has rotted, the infection spreading rapidly. We have two options: attempt to preserve the tissue with risk of fatal infection, or amputate and remove the necrosis completely." He paused, his eyes searching my face. "The location? It is sensitive. Are you sure?" I didn't blink. "Cut it away." His brows rose in surprise at my swiftness. But I took the consent form without hesitation, signing my name clearly at the bottom. The next day, Marcus awoke in his hospital bed, the fog of anesthesia still clouding his eyes. Slowly, his gaze focused, recognition flickering when he saw me standing there. His lips parted, trying to form words. But all I did was watch. "Marcus Kane," I said, my voice colder than ice, as I threw the divorce papers onto the table beside his bed. "We're done. Noah is mine. The assets are mine. Sign." His face went slack, shock flickering in his eyes before panic settled in. He forced a crooked smile that made my skin crawl. "Sophia, what are you saying? We're fine. Why divorce out of nowhere?" My gaze dropped pointedly to the part of him hidden beneath the blanket, my tone laced with venom. "So it was you and the nanny, the pair everyone whispered about, stuck together like fools. My husband rolling around with the help. Impressive." His face drained of color, lips trembling as he scrambled for excuses. No, she seduced me first. I swear it was only once. I was weak. I was stupid." His hand clutched desperately at my sleeve, his voice breaking into near sobs. "I know I was wrong, but it's the kind of mistake any man might make. Please, Sophia, give me another chance." I jerked away from his touch, my eyes as cold as steel. "Sign it. Don't make this uglier than it already is." Tears spilled down his cheeks, his gaze clinging to me as though I were the last thread holding him to life. "I love you, I swear I do. Without you, I'm nothing. You're my entire reason for living." I remained unmoved, my face carved in stone. Something in him snapped. With a sudden wild motion, he snatched the papers and tore them to shreds. The pieces fluttering down like snow, each one slashing against my heart, without drawing a single drop of pity. His eyes blazed red, his voice a roar. "I won't divorce you, not even if I die. Never!" He lunged, trying to grab my arm, but I slipped away quick and sharp. His desperation only grew, his voice rising frantic. "Noah is still a baby. Would you really let him grow up without a father? I swear from now on." "I'll never—" "I believe you." I cut in, my voice steady, pressing his trembling hand back down against his chest like sealing a vow. For a flicker of a moment, hope sparked in his eyes, fragile and bright. Then I crushed it with the next words. "But the truth is, the weapon you used to betray me has already been taken away." The realization hit him like a thunderclap. His eyes widened, his face went blank, then horror dawned. He threw off the blanket, his gaze darting down, and the transformation was almost too cruel to watch. From disbelief to fear, from fear to despair. His scream split the room, guttural and broken. No, what did you do to me?" His voice cracked, every word drenched in agony, his eyes once pleading now, hollow, empty, stripped of hope. I answered coolly, my tone matter of fact. It's a complication of the surgery. The doctors can testify to that. As for the consent form, yes, I signed it without hesitation. Sophia Delgado. He bellowed my name like a curse, lunging toward me with what little strength remained, his hands reaching for my throat. But the IV lines tangled, dragging him down, and he collapsed back into the bed like a beast trapped in chains. I pulled another copy of the divorce settlement from my bag, snapping it across his face. The words, in bold, "all assets to the wife," landed before his eyes like a final blow. "You're dreaming," he spat, his eyes bloodshot, his voice ragged. "As long as I refuse, you'll never divorce me. Even if you manage it, you have no job, no income. The court will give Noah to me." I said nothing, only studied him with steady, unblinking eyes. Perhaps he mistook my silence for hesitation, because his lips twisted into a cruel smirk. His voice dropped low and almost mocking. "Sophia, I can forgive you, but you'll have to be stitched up like me. That way neither of us can betray the other. We'll grow old together. Isn't that perfect?" My ears rang with the sheer madness of his words. I stared, stunned by the sickness in his mind. He spoke it as though it were divine truth, as though he had just solved everything. "You're ugly now, fat from childbirth," he sneered, his voice, a knife cutting deeper. "No man would want you but me. Transfer $1 million to Jenna and she'll disappear, and then things can go back to the way they were. Simple." I laughed then, not out of humor, but out of sheer fury, the sound jagged and raw. He looked at me as if he had control again, as if his cruelty could cage me. From now on, he added, twisting the knife further, "Everything in this house is by my word. You don't get to argue anymore." I didn't answer. I simply reached for the kettle on the side table, the steam still curling from its spout, the water inside boiling hot. Without hesitation, I lifted the lid and poured the scalding stream directly over his crotch. The hiss of water against skin was drowned by his scream, a sound so shrill it could split the heavens. His body convulsed, his face contorted, every muscle straining in unbearable agony. I held the kettle steady, my voice soft, almost gentle. Oh dear, my hand slipped. At last silence fell heavy and complete. "Oh dear." "My hand slipped," I murmured, as if I had merely spilled a bowl of soup. Marcus writhed, curling in on himself. His face flushed crimson, too strangled by pain to even scream. At last, blessed silence filled the world. He had been right about one thing: if he refused to sign divorce, would be nearly impossible. The court would drag it out, and with no income. In my name, he might even win custody of Noah. So I shifted my plan. Divorce was messy. Widowhood would be simpler, cleaner. I uploaded the video of him and Jenna stuck together, their humiliation immortalized. Within 30 minutes, it had exploded past 10,000 shares, climbing into the city's top trending search. Marcus Kane was ruined. His name dragged through every corner of the internet, his private details stripped bare by strangers. Old friends turned their backs, severing ties. Even former classmates who hadn't spoken in years surfaced online, just to spit curses in his face. His company wasted no time either. Claiming his scandal had damaged their image, they fired him without hesitation. Now he was like me, unemployed. Except I still had dignity. He had none. The hospital became his prison, a stage for gawkers. People passed by his ward to gawk, whispering behind glass, some even storming in just to spit on him. Every day his body decayed a little more, and his mind followed. He began smashing furniture, screaming like a lunatic, until nurses trembled to go near him. One afternoon while he was gone, I installed a pinhole camera in his room, the lens angled directly at his bed. Later, curled on the couch, I watched him unravel. To my surprise, it was entertaining. But the footage revealed something darker. From his financial records, I discovered I wasn't the first victim. There was an entire network behind this, a hidden industry feeding on women like me. I began digging through mothers' forums, scrolling through threads late into the night. Soon I found others, women who suspected something was off but never had proof. Many more who, like me, had been blinded completely. They too had been drinking the nightly milk their husbands brought them, milk laced with sleeping pills, and slept soundly until morning, thinking it was love and care. The deeper we dug, the clearer the picture became. The so-called child care agency where Jenna Morales worked was nothing but a front. Outwardly, it was a professional service for mothers and babies. In reality, their real clientele was the fathers. They trained their women meticulously. New recruits learned to dress deliberately, dowdy ponytails, tied low and sloppy uniforms, 2 sizes too big shoelaces, dragging on the floor. They practiced acting awkward, stumbling through tasks, keeping their distance from men feigning timidity. This disguise disarmed wives, leaving them unsuspecting. Who would imagine that under those frumpy uniforms lay lingerie chosen to tempt? That beneath the shy demeanor was a trap, carefully laid. The secrecy was the hook. The men craved that hidden indulgence, the thrill of sneaking around right under their wives' noses. And for that, women like Jenna were prized not just with high salaries, but with lavish bonuses from husbands too weak to resist. We gathered everything: screenshots, testimonies, bank records, and turned it over to the police. The authorities treated it seriously, launching an immediate raid. Within days, the agency was shut down, doors sealed, executives dragged out in handcuffs. Dozens of staff were taken in. But somehow Jenna slipped through the net. I saw her again, not in person, but through the camera I'd planted. The feed lit up my screen one night, and there she was standing in Marcus's hospital room. A mask covered most of her face, only her eyes visible, sharp and unyielding. Behind her loomed several tattooed thugs, broad-shouldered and menacing, their faces twisted with cruelty. Marcus lay wasted on the bed, hollow-eyed, his body shrunken, his spirit drained to nothing. When Jenna Morales pulled down her mask, Marcus's eyes widened with rage. "You bitch!" He spat, his voice cracking. "This is all your fault. If you hadn't tempted me, I'd never be in this state." Jenna laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that sliced through the air. "What did I do, Marcus?" "Hold a gun to your head. Did I force you to take off your pants? You couldn't control yourself, and now you want to blame me." Marcus's trembling hand reached for the call button, but before he could touch it, one of the tattooed men behind Jenna grabbed his wrist and twisted it violently behind his back. A scream tore from his throat, sweat pouring down his pale face. "Where's our money? You think you can cheat us?" the man barked. Marcus stammered, his voice breaking into sobs. "I don't have it, I swear. Sophia took it all. She manages every account. Go after her, not me. She's the one who switched the gel for glue. She ruined everything, not me." The words made my stomach clench. Even faced with death, he would throw me to the wolves to save himself. He shoved me under the bus without hesitation, using me as his shield. Jenna's eyes narrowed, her hand gripping the collar of his hospital gown as she hissed. "You think I'm that stupid? If you don't have money today, you won't leave this room alive." Marcus's voice cracked, almost childlike in its desperation. "I swear I have nothing left. Please let me call Sophia. She can pay. Take it from her." And on his face, twisted beneath the sweat and fear, was a gleam of cruel calculation. He wanted me dead in his place. Moments later, my phone rang. Marcus's name flashed across the screen. His voice, feigning calm, slithered through the speaker. "Sophia, I'll agree to the divorce. Come to the hospital." I murmured my reply softly. "All right, I'll come." But as soon as the call ended, I pulled up the camera feed. On the screen, Marcus turned to Jenna with a grin of triumph. "She's on her way." Jenna's lip curled with disgust. She spat in his face, the sound wet and vicious. "Pathetic. You'd sell out your wife to save yourself." Marcus wiped at the spit, his jaw tight, his eyes flashing hate. "She's the reason I lost everything. Why should I protect her?" Half an hour later, Jenna's patience snapped. Her palm cracked across Marcus's face, leaving his mouth bleeding. "Where is she? Did you lie to me?" His voice shook as he tried to placate her. "She's coming. Maybe she got stuck in traffic. Let me call again." He dialed, his tone panicked. "Sophia, where are you?" I lowered my voice, faking fear. "Marcus, the police just called me. They found traces of Jenna nearby. They think she knows you're the one who tipped them off. She's on her way to the hospital." His face drained of blood. "What did you say?" Before I could finish, Jenna ripped the phone from his hand and hurled it to the ground, shattering it into pieces. "So it was you," she snarled, eyes blazing. "You betrayed me." Marcus scrambled back on the bed, but another thug shoved him down the frame, rattling under the weight. "It wasn't me," he cried, muffled by panic. "Sophia's lying. I didn't call the cops." His protest was cut off as a filthy sock was stuffed into his mouth. Jenna's hand flicked and her men descended, fists pounding his body. Blow after blow rained down until the sound of breaking ribs echoed through the room. Marcus writhed, curling in on himself, but there was no escape. Harder, Jenna commanded, her eyes glittering with satisfaction. "He's had it too easy." The men obeyed, the thuds of fists on flesh reverberating like drum beats. Marcus's body shook under the barrage, his eyes rolling back, blood spilling from his lips, his moans choked and pitiful. When at last Jenna raised her hand, they stopped. She stepped forward, bent over him, and spat in his swollen face. "I hate cheating men more than anything in this world. You disgust me." With that, she turned, signaling her men to leave. But when the door opened, the police were waiting, sirens shouting chaos. The thugs were pinned and dragged out. Jenna handcuffed, her fury still blazing, even as they shoved her into custody. Marcus was wheeled into the operating room again, his body mangled, his life hanging by a thread. This time there was no saving him. His internal injuries were too severe, his blood loss too great. The doctors tried, but eventually they admitted defeat. In his final moments, his only request was to see me. I stood in the doorway of his hospital room as he lay broken on the bed. His face was a grotesque mask of bruises and swelling barely recognizable, yet his eyes lit up when he saw me. With trembling fingers, he reached toward me, his lips moving slowly. "Sophia, I love you." I didn't move. I only tilted my lips into a cold smile, shaping the words with precision so he could read them. "Go to hell." The light in his eyes flickered, then vanished. His body shuddered once, blood seeping from his nose and mouth, and then his hand fell limp against the sheet. Marcus Kane was dead. A single tear clung to the corner of his eye, but to me it was nothing more than a crocodile's tear. My heart felt no sorrow. As for Jenna Morales, the law sealed her fate. With charges of aggravated assault leading to death, prostitution, and conspiracy tied to organized crime, she was sentenced to die. I stood outside the courthouse the day the verdict was handed down, the sun blazing overhead. I tilted my face to the sky, letting the warmth bathe me. The road ahead was still long, but I would walk it one step at a time, free at last. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.